Hello, Chef friends. My name is Jenny Armstrong Owen, and I'm the head of people here at Chef. And before we kick off ChefConf 2020, we felt strongly that we needed to address the tragic events of the past few weeks. Like all of us, I am devastated and angered by these events. And we know there are no perfect words that we can share at this time, but we need to acknowledge and give voice to the injustices that so many people of color have faced over the past weeks, months, and decades. The loss of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others whose deaths have not been well publicized demonstrate that unconscionable, violent racism exists in our society. And now is the time we need to take to grieve, learn, and change so we can figure out a path forward. And we don't pretend to know how to solve this brokenness. Our hope is that each one of us would take the time, the intentional time, to think about these events, to understand the pain that these moments represent, and commit ourselves to change and support racial reconciliation and justice as a nation. Please join us as we take 30 seconds of silent reflection to honor and remember those affected. Thank you.
Welcome everybody to ChefConf 2020. This is our first online edition, and I just want to thank you all for joining us. This is coming live from the Hobbit House, where my wife Maureen and I live on Lake Union in Seattle, Washington, which is now part of the chef office empire out there in the world. And 6 months ago, if you had told me that we'd be living in a world where Nordstrom is selling face masks, Bloomberg is reporting on record unemployment in the United States, we have a worldwide pandemic with 5 million people sick, and that what we'd be turning to distract ourselves is this crazy show, The Tiger King, I absolutely could not have believed it. So let me start with the Mayo Clinic, who has some great self-care tips. I encourage you all to check it out. And I'm going to pull 4 of those that we can think about during ChefConf over the next day or so. So first of all, let's focus on things that we can control. And the thing I love about IT automation is it is something unequivocally we can control. The second one, we're living this, we're trying to create it. My favorite thing about ChefConf always was the social connection as much as the content that we were sharing. And we absolutely are going to use technology to try to maintain that and create that. I'm going to skip number 3 for a second and come back to that. And then the fourth one, listen to music. Over the years, we've had unbelievable music venues at ChefConf, and this year is no exception. I think we've actually have some of the most interesting acts ever. So really looking forward to that. And then let me come back to that third one, acknowledge and appreciate what others are doing to help you and your community. So I want to just call out some folks that are part of our community. I don't mean these as awards, just thank you for the tireless work you do day in, day out to help make our community, make our company, make our products what they are today. So first is Graham Weldon. Graham, if you don't know him, is a stalwart and relentless habitat contributor. He's from Rakuten, Japan. Was with us really from the earliest days of the Habitat project. Thank you, Graham. Abdul Dost with MITRE. He's the Inspect champion at MITRE. And what I love Abdul's done is he's helped create math to prove that you can not only improve security with continuous compliance, but you can actually enormously improve the operating efficiency of the organization. And one of our big things that we believe in security is if you get it right, it is actually something that augments and assists velocity, doesn't block it, and Abdul's work has absolutely shown that. Dan Webb with Web Agile Systems. Dan is a key sous chef, and he has just been tireless on content. There's over 50 community cookbooks, some of the most important ones that Dan has updated, owned, kept running. Dan, thank you for that work. And Rob Mortimer with Barclays. Rob's a trainer at Barclays. I sometimes feel that training is so important, but also often gets treated as a second-class citizen. So he has just done a fantastic job really being a trainer / evangelist, if I'm really honest. And he's actually going to be talking at ChefConf. So Rob, thank you. And thank you all to the other hundreds and thousands of people that contribute and make all this possible. And then before I dive into the bulk of my content, I do want to put a flashlight on an amazing organization. I get asked by employees, customers, community members, hey, what can we do in this time of COVID to help out those that are not as fortunate for us? And so this is a group that we've got involved with. They have a variety of charities that they have vetted that are helping out people that have been highly impacted. And Chef is actually giving to 3 different charities as part of that. And the first one is related to helping first responders that have daycare needs that are being unmet right now. It's a great cause. Some of the many people are not fortunate like we are and can work in an environment like this and actually have to get out on the front lines and do the work with some of the toughest work going on right now. The second relates to hospitality and restaurant workers, industry that has just been devastated with the great shutdown. And so help create financial support by those that are most impacted by this. And then lastly, artists. And artists have jobs, they make money, and many of them are struggling as bad as anybody right now. And if I think about ChefConf, we've had amazing artists here over the years, so I'm really glad that we can help out there. And I encourage you all, go check it out, allinseattle.org. Okay, so let's dive into IT, and I want to talk about trends and what we see going on. And pre-COVID, if you'd asked me, sort of what's the market drama that we're playing in, and I've talked about many of these things at ChefConf, but I'll just touch on it very quickly. What's been going on is enterprise organizations, they're trying to be digital high performers. We use the term decoded enterprise to describe digital high performers. So the mainstream enterprise, they're trying to be digital high performers in the same way the FANG companies are, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. And the reason is the financial returns and other benefits are so outsized if you can become a digital high performer. And the consequences are also very stark. And yet everyone wants to be a high performer, and it's hard. It's hard to be one. And there's a bunch of things getting in the way for most enterprises. Legacy systems, tech debt, bunch of complexity. Security is now cited often as the #1 blocker to digital transformation. People, culture, systems of speed. And so the net of it is, even though everyone wants to get there, the majority are having a tough go at it. And now let's talk about what is the COVID world? What is the great shutdown? How has that impacted these efforts that are underway within our IT organizations? The first probably feels really obvious, but I do want to just really highlight that. And it goes without saying, I've heard many people describe it as we're seeing an acceleration of all things digital, and that is absolutely true. And I think that digital is now the foundation, not just of key industries, but of almost every industry and every business, as people try to imagine different ways to connect with customers, with partners, with their markets. So our digital infrastructure, it is critical infrastructure. And related to that is, and I would think of a discussion I was having with a close friend of mine who's also in the industry, and he was saying that, look, we've got to take security and treat security of applications, security of endpoint devices, security of IT infrastructure is just as important to our economy and to our world as, think of airport security. And I think there's some industries that have paid very close attention to this, but there's been many industries that have just blown this off. And I think that those days are absolutely gone. And it is important for all of us to think about security. And as I was kind of highlighting in the example with MITRE, is when you get it right, you actually, it's not just a cost, it actually improves operational efficiency and velocity in addition to having great security. And you're watching me here from the Hobbit house, so obviously we're in a time of remote everything, and I think there's a couple aspects of that are important. First of all, we have to create systems to allow work to occur anywhere. And many of us, and I know Chef was a company that had a very strong remote work culture anyways, but now it's how do we create systems to enable that. I also want to tie remote work to my previous point on security. And your laptop now, if you have a VPN or other connection into your corporate network, if you become vulnerable, your entire organization is vulnerable. So it's not just managing devices and enabling work, but making sure that we're doing that in a secure manner. And as I've talked to IT leaders, CIOs, CTOs, head of enterprise architecture, a very consistent theme has come out of these conversations. And that is, almost every IT organization, like the companies they are part of, they're dealing with crisis management. They're in a time of crisis right now. And as I talk to most IT leaders, they want to make sure that they're using this time of crisis as productively as possible. And so they want to go tackle all the hairy things that have been getting in the way of digital transformation. And they view that this is a time to accelerate, get those things out of the way, whether they're cultural, organizational, technical, whatever it is. And my advice to all IT workers is make sure that you're riding that train, not working against it. And I want to talk about consolidation for a second. We for sure are exiting a era in IT, and for the past while, probably 5 years plus, we've been in the time of great experimentation. In fact, I think I've described it and used the term a Cambrian explosion of dev tools, of ops tools, platforms, and different groups inside large organizations have been experimenting with different things. And there's been such a premium on just, go accomplish your thing, that those individual teams are finding what works for them. But many organizations haven't found what is the standard that they want to run and what what works for them across the entire organization. And the one thing we know is high performers, they don't do things 20 different ways or 5 different ways or 100 different ways. They find the way that works for them and drive that pattern relentlessly. And so we're seeing the end of that experimentation era and proliferation of tools to a consolidation of tools, where organizations, they're choosing standards, they're figuring out what works best for them, and then they're driving it relentlessly. And all the while, speed and velocity have been very key parts of IT for certainly the last 5 or 10 years. And I see not only is that not letting up, I see that is actually increasing in this time of COVID. People want to more quickly get things out that are impacting their business in a positive way, that are impacting their customers in a positive way. And then the backdrop behind all of this is most organizations at a minimum are going through budget cuts. Many of them are going through layoffs also. And I just want to call out, because I think the work actually, certainly is not getting any easier. You're being asked more than ever to do more with less. And I just want to call out that the work that you're doing is not just important for the health of your organization, for the health of your coworkers, for your customers, It's actually, that work is what is propping up the US economy, the worldwide economy. It's doing things like allowing the work that needs to happen in healthcare industries to happen. So it is more important than ever, and just want to call that out and thank you all for the work that you do every single day. And if I leave you with a kind of a last idea in the trend section, it is simply this. There's a very stark difference between low performers and high performers. And we see this again and again. And I want to make sure that collectively we're doing everything we can to drive the outcome to help the organizations you work with become high performers. And the low performers, as you think about the jumble of systems and applications, both new and legacy, they push change many different ways. Sometimes it feels like as many different ways as there are applications or different systems. Whereas those high performers, even across a very complex compute environment, they are fantastic, and what they excel at is automating and driving secure change in a consistent manner. And they get great at it. As they get better, they're always tuning, they're always optimizing in the same way that an auto manufacturer is always optimizing how they run their manufacturing line. So I would encourage you to think about that. It's tied to this idea of we're seeing a consolidation of tooling and platforms, and it's something that I would really lean into. And as you think about working with your IT leadership, this is a really, really key concept that's important to understand. You want your organization to look like the right side of this frame, not the left side of this frame. Okay, let me give an update on Chef's business. So the first part of that, I just wanted to reshare. A lot of work went on in 2019. It was kind of a crazy time in our industry, in the software industry, and it led to a lot of introspection inside Chef and our community. And we wanted to redouble down on our very purpose for being here. And this has always been our purpose. And we're here to help you, the people that operate IT, to help make your lives better, to allow you to have more reach, more scale, and hopefully bring some delight to what you do through software automation. That's why the company was founded. That's why we're here today. And we also wrote down a set of principles to define how we want to work together as a company and as a community. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but there's one I really want to focus, because I think that we're paying this off very strongly, and hopefully we'll demonstrate that when we talk about the things that are going on in the product organization right now. And that is innovate to thrive. And I want to take a minute and read this. We continuously learn and innovate to create exceptional outcomes. We make space for creativity. Our best innovation is done in close collaboration with our community, with you all. And I would argue this, in fact, is happening, and it's happening better than it has ever happened in the history of Chef. And we're definitely in a time of strong innovation for the company right now. And we're really excited to share the work that we've been doing. And our ambition, where we're going as a company, is we want to be the definitive platform for IT operations. And there's three main stakeholders that we see in that. The first is definitely the place that we grew up, infra ops, right? That was our bread and butter. That's the world that Chef was founded in. The second area is SecOps, and I've touched on it a couple times. We think security is so important to becoming a high performer and doing things at scale and velocity. That idea of being in a state of continuous compliance is so important to that. So that's been the second major area of investment for us. And then the third is AppOps, and this is the team and the people that are responsible for the life cycle of an application, keeping it updated, patched, performing, downstream dependencies, all of these things. It's complex, it's hard, and we want to be the platform across three areas. So that's what we're working on. And I think what will define the next generation of IT automation are companies that combine these three elements together. And look, we were founded, as I've said, it's always been about how to do things efficiently and consistently, even across very complex and heterogeneous environments. And we started, of course, with scale velocity. That's where the company was born. I remember talking to Adam and Chris Brown in the early days of Chef, and they talk about the product at the time was a series of primitives that you could essentially do anything with very quickly, very rapidly, and at scale. It did require a fair bit of knowledge to understand how the system worked and actually construct it for themselves. But the foundation was unbelievable. And over the years, we've added a couple legs to that stool. The second one, I've said it several times, security. We think that will be critical to all future IT automation platforms, and the ability to have it tightly integrated and work with the jobs of both infra and app automation are critical. And the third thing, and I think this falls in the category of have your cake and eat it too, is that everything should be effortless. And our own work, I want to share how we're thinking about this, and this is a really, really important direction for us. And there's two main ways to think about it from a chef standpoint. The first is we want it to be effortless, and we want to reduce the operating burden of managing and running automation at scale. The second thing's on our mind is, as we bring new practitioners into the fold, we don't want them to have to be experts in Chef, experts in Ruby. We want to make it easier to accomplish tasks that need to be accomplished and easier to come into the fold of Chef. So we're also doing a number of things and we'll continue to drive in this area. So these are the three things that are informing all of our product work. We'll continue to be great at scale and velocity. Security is a huge emphasis, and then effortless. And you'll just keep hearing us beat on that drum and do a whole bunch of things in the product in that area. And I want to do a quick business update. And the headline is business is good right now. And in fact, it has wildly exceeded my expectations, especially in the world of COVID, when there's so much economic deterioration around the world. And I think for us, a whole number of things have conspired together in a very positive way. First of all, our business model is working, the 100% open source business model, the path we've chosen is performing. You all have been phenomenally supportive of that. Thank you. Our new product investments, I'll touch on that. They're working, and we're seeing that Chef isn't just about Chef Infra anymore. And innovation, the innovation in our products, not just new, but also existing products. We're thinking about our, where we started in the world of infrastructure in different ways than we have previously. And as I said, it's a time of record innovation for the company. Our community, I touched and shared some of the folks that represent our community. We have a vibrant community that's helping us and helping drive where we want to go. And then customers. And I'll just want to say, we are so fortunate to have customers doing some of the most interesting things in compute with Chef. And that work and sharing what works, what doesn't, what are the obstacles, help inform us and help us build better products. So thank you for that. And then I'll touch on partners in a second. We have probably the strongest partner network that we've ever had in the history of the company. And then also just want to call out a great, great group of employees that are just fantastic at execution and just keep driving the business. And all this is translated into, first of all, a really strong 2019. It was our 10th consecutive record revenue year, so really consistent growth over time for the company. But there was a couple sub-stories in 2019 that I really want to pop. One is we had a explosion and resurgence of our new customer acquisition. And this is the part of the business that really lends most to what will happen in the future. So really pleased with that and welcome all you new customers to the Chef community. And then our new products are growing very quickly, over 70% year-over-year growth of both Habitat and Inspect. So let's talk about 2020 year to date. And this has been a crazy time to be in business. March was highly impacted by COVID. And then Q2, which we're sort of in the throes of wrapping up in the next month or so, it's just been a wild ride. And for Chef, I think it all translates to the work that we do in automation and all things digital are so important today. So we had our best Q1 ever, 100% growth over a year. The company also passed a really important milestone. We've been flirting in and out of being cash flow positive, and we were firmly cash flow positive in the first quarter of this year, in fact, the first half. And just across all Q1 metrics, just very, very strong performance. And all that leads us to have actually a very favorable outlook for 2020. The products are performing well. The company expects to be both cash flow positive and profitable, which is a really, really important milestone for companies like ours. So again, thank you all for your help and your participation. And this isn't just us as a company, this is all of us as a community. Okay, with that, I'm really excited to turn it over to our very own Mindy Beaumonte, who's our virtual person on the street, who's going to interview Corey Johnston with Edgenuity. Has a great, great story to tell. So with that, Mindy, take it away.
Thanks, Barry. This is Mindy Beaumonte, a member of the marketing team here at Chef Software, and I am joined today by Corey Johnston, Manager of Cloud Engineering for Edgenuity. Corey, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So my understanding is that Edgenuity is a leading provider of K-12 online learning solutions that partners with schools and districts around the country to provide the tools and support they need to leverage technology to improve student outcomes. Can you share with me what the plan for Edgenuity, what it looked like at the beginning of 2020?
Well, our roadmap for 2020 consisted of continuing our migration to Amazon and getting out of our existing data center, and we were leveraging Chef to do that. We're developing new products constantly, so while we're doing the migration, we were working on proving out those innovative ideas and really preparing for back to school of 2021, actually. So it was an interesting challenge when the pandemic hit, because we had to pivot into supporting a larger customer base, meaning students, parents, and educators. And it went from about 500,000 connections to over 5 million connections that we had to handle in one way or the other. And the challenge quickly arose that we didn't have the capacity on-prem to do so. So we really had to escalate our efforts to migrate the majority of our core LMS application to Amazon.
And what were some of the initiatives that Chef especially helped you with as you made that quick pivot?
Well, one of the biggest ones was convincing our developers that Chef was not only a great product, but it was the product to help us quickly innovate. What I mean by that is that Chef is agnostic to the application stack that you're developing on. So whether it be Java or Windows, both of which are pretty huge platforms in our environment, it allowed us to provide the developers a platform where they could consume the application in its current state, package it, and assist us in quickly deploying it to the cloud. Why is that important to a company like Edgenuity? Well, because of the large influx of students and parents and teachers that we had, we couldn't bring the system down at night like we typically did. We had to do migrations in flight, meaning that while the application was still fully up and running, we packaged and deployed it to the cloud while we continued to service our parents and teachers and educators. And, you know, it was, while challenging, much more efficient. What took usually about 4 days to do, we cut down into 3 hours. So Chef played an important role. On top of that, some of the other products that Chef offers, like Inspect for hardening of our server images, and the compliance monitoring that Automate assists us with, were very invaluable in making sure that both on-prem and in the cloud, we were monitoring things in a consistent way, and our deployments were in lockstep with each other. Another challenge was that we had to deploy to 2 different parts of the organization, or to 2 different areas, meaning the data center and the cloud. And because we leveraged Chef, we were able to do both without a lot of heartache and pain. And our focus could be on innovating instead of, man, how are we going to get this application to, you know, the various tenants that we had. So that was an important role that Chef has played to date.
Well, we've been very happy to partner and help in this time that none of us could have predicted. That's for sure. As we look forward into the school year, starting in the fall of 2020 and beyond into 2021 and future years, what do you see as the next? What are you doing to prepare, and how is Chef going to help you?
Well, we're going through this evolution for our application to better meet the student experience. One of the things that we've decided to do is go into more of a services-oriented architecture. While that may sound great and exciting, one of the challenges is continuing to supply that experience to our customers while developing this new product. One of the initial pain points was going to be, well, do we have to use another tool or platform in order to accomplish that? And because we've already stood up Chef and have had great success with it, we don't have to do that. We're using Chef to do our services deployments into Kubernetes, or services like Kubernetes, without having to carve out a whole new tool in order to do so. We're also continuing to innovate and actually are speeding up that innovation, because the developers aren't worried about, man, I have to stop and learn a new tool and have discussions with my team members. It's all the same thing, and it's all the same platform. We're just innovating as fast as we can. So that is what our goal for back to school 2021 will continue to be. We anticipate even more students on the platform, since a lot of the schools decided to end the school year early, since it seems initially that we're going to be starting off with some sort of distance learning involved. We're going to be prepared for that. And we're excited. We're looking forward to getting a little bit more sleep, of course, but we are pretty confident we're going to meet the needs of our customers now and into the future.
Well, we of course wish you all very well and more sleep, and look forward to continuing to partnering with you and helping achieve those goals of greater innovation and being able to support all those schools and school districts around the country. So thank you very much for joining us today. And again, we look forward to continuing to work with you and Edgenuity.
Thank you.
Back to you, Barry.
Corey, Mindy, thank you for that. I love hearing that story. I never grow tired of hearing that. So thank you, and appreciate your support, Corey, you and your team. Okay, I want to finish by talking about Chef's partner programs. So this year we launched our best ever partner program, had very positive feedback on it. And we sit today with over 500 partners worldwide. And as Chef grows, at some point we can't ourselves touch every customer, every prospect out there. And so we have to get help from a very strong partner network. The thing that I look for first and foremost in a great partner is someone that drives great customer outcomes, right? I think that if you drive great customer outcomes, if you're helping customers succeed, if you're helping better engagement they have with their own business, then business flows well for our partners, it flows well from us, but it starts with those customer outcomes. And with that, I'll drive into the 2020 Chef Partner Awards. And I'm going to run through these, but all of these, whether they are our winner or our runner-up, absolutely represented that idea of great focus on their own customer outcomes. So first of all, Partner of the Year, I'm very pleased to announce Indelliant, and runner-up Relevance Labs. So thank you both. In the financial services sector, Tech Racer is the winner, Oracy is the runner-up. In our public sector, which I'll just note is one of our fastest growing parts of Chef's business, Imex Group and Carasoft is the runner-up. And in the Rising Star category, I'm very pleased to announce Climb Channel Solutions and eBusiness Design as the runner-up. So thank you all to our 8 winners. Appreciate your help. Look forward to another great year working together. So to summarize, I think 3 main points. First of all, digital is more critical than ever. Second of all, the coded enterprises, those that are high performers, what they're great at is automating and securing change. And I view this as our collective job to help organizations become high performers. And then lastly, thanks to you all, Chef is doing very, very well despite a tough climate out there. So thank you. Feel so fortunate for that. So with that, let me turn it over. I'd like to introduce Corey Scobie, our CTO, who's got a great talk on the work that's going on with products. So Corey, take it away.
Thanks for joining us today at ChefConf Online for the product keynote. Today, we're going to cover a bunch of different areas of product innovation that we've brought to the community and to our customers since last ChefConf in Seattle 2019. We're going to talk about progress that we've made in simplifying the patterns of deploying distributed software in complex IT environments. We're going to talk about progress that we've made in tackling some of the biggest security and compliance challenges that you face in your organizations. And we're going to talk about how you can manage desktops, laptops, and even distributed systems and edge devices in a more scalable way with Chef Desktop. So let's get going. We've been on a journey together since the very inception of Chef. As a matter of fact, Chef was created around a simple philosophy, which is that if we could express infrastructure as code, we'd be able to automate on top of that. And that basic philosophy has carried through in the rest of our product portfolio as we've continued to develop additional technologies around automation. With InSpec, we have the ability to express security and compliance as code. With Habitat, we have the ability to express application deployment and lifecycle management and dependencies as code. All of this we refer to as the coded enterprise. And the coded enterprise really boils down to taking all of those various different automation requirements and encoding them in a set of artifacts that we can use for collaboration. Speaking of collaboration, at Chef, we believe the best way to build software is to do it in close collaboration with the people that use it. And that's what we've spent the last year and really the last decade doing at Chef, which is collaborating with our customers and the community and all of the practitioners worldwide that use Chef, InSpec, Habitat, and all of our technologies on a regular basis. So we continue to use collaboration as part of the foundation of our overall product strategy and are super happy to be out there figuring out the challenges of automation with you in the world. During the course of the last year, we've really taken a step back to look at what our core purpose at Chef is. And we've come up with this phrase, this statement that represents our core purpose and actually permeates all of the product development that we do. Chef exists to improve the lives of IT operators through software automation. It's really important that we break this down a little bit. IT operators are the people, the humans that interact with our software on a regular basis and are driving many, many different digital transformation projects and initiatives in their own organizations. At Chef, when we think about product development, we're trying to design products to match how IT operators work in the real world. We're trying to make collaboration easy across various different IT roles with the basis of the coded enterprise as the foundation of that. And really what we're trying to do is allow you as an IT operator to extend your work across the enterprise and to extend your impact across the entirety of your business or your organization. One of the things that we recognize is that different teams have different languages. And one of the great things about the coded enterprise is that it allows us to consolidate and centralize on a small set of artifacts that can be the basis for collaboration. Take security and compliance as an example. I know many of you have organizations where you have a really rich document or book, PDF, Word document, whatever it is, that expresses your security and compliance requirements and standards. The challenge is that you can't take a Word document or a PDF and put it into action anywhere. But when you take those same set of requirements and you encode them as a profile, a security profile that you can run InSpec tests against, then you can actually take that document that is the foundational statement of your security compliance profile and put it into action through automation. It's true for infrastructure automation and application delivery as well. Different coded artifacts that power the underpinnings of that. But one thing is true is that by encoding our policies and our state in artifacts, it builds a great basis for collaboration across the enterprise. Speaking of collaboration, we've spent the last couple of years as an organization and as a community tackling really compliance at scale. And we've built a bunch of foundational technologies and used those foundational technologies to build the first generation of security and compliance at scale using Chef Inspect, Chef Automate for dashboards and reporting, the world of Inspect audit profiles, whether you get them from Chef or you get them from the community. And then of course, Chef Infra remediation cookbooks and recipes and all the world of configuration management that exists out there. Well, over the course of the last year, we've been working on the next evolution of how these pieces come together to form a security and compliance solution for enterprise at scale. And so we've continued to innovate on this front with the community as a partner. We've created an environment that allows us to close the compliance loop and actually automatically remediate many of the vulnerabilities or compliance challenges that we find in typical enterprise organizations. We've done this through extending the capabilities via policy-driven automation. What's important about that is by using policy-driven automation, we can configure rather than have to program with mountains of code the various different security and compliance policies that you want to implement in your organization. We've spent a lot of the last year building authoritative benchmarks and getting them CIS certified. We also have STIG benchmarks for federal government customers or other high security environments. And last but not least, we spend a lot of time covering the entire estate of your compute environments, whether that be private data centers, hybrid, the public cloud environments, and even extending security and compliance to desktops, laptops, distributed systems, and edge devices. I could go on for a long time talking about all the great innovation that we've put into Chef Compliance. But rather than do that, I think what I'm going to do is pass the ball over to John Snow. John is going to join us from his home office and give us a demo of the new Chef Compliance remediation offering. Over to you, John.
The Chef Compliance offering allows you to quickly and easily define your company's compliance policy. How does it work? We start by writing a plan. This plan will help us pull the new compliance scan and remediation packages and turn them into an artifact with the automation necessary to run them on our target system. Our plan contains the information about the artifact we'll be building, such as its name and who maintains it. At the very bottom, it also defines the scan and remediation packages we'd like to use. Something that I want to be clear about, though, is that even though we are defining both a scan and remediate package at this stage, this does not mean we'll be remediating issues right away. The default behavior only scans the system so that we can see our current audit status before selecting which remediations we'd like to implement. We'll talk a bit more about how we can specify our remediations later. For now, all I need to build the package is to simply enter a Chef Habitat Studio and run a single command: build. It's as simple as that. I've already loaded this package on a system, so let's take a look at the results in Chef Automate so that we can see what I need to remediate. This package is a sample of some CIS controls included in our scan and remediation packages, and is publicly available so you can test out what I'm demoing. We can see that some of my controls are passing and some are failing. The first thing that I want to do is determine which issues I do not want to remediate. For example, we can click on this Ensure SSH Access is Limited control to view its source code and see what it's checking. This looks like it's checking an Allow Users list to determine access. This is something that I'm not ready to implement right now, so for this item, we're going to set a Chef Inspect waiver to skip the control. Determining which controls to remediate and which controls to waive is as simple as updating a single configuration file. Back in the directory where I created my package plan, we simply need to create a config folder and then add a config YAML file to that folder. The top of the file contains information about which audit and remediate content I'm using. Below that, in the controls section, we can copy the ID from our scan results in Chef Automate and say what we want to do with them. In this example, I've set remediate to true in most of my controls. To waive a control, instead, we can set scan to false and provide a justification for why we don't want the scan to run. Because I'm waiving this control, I've also set remediate to false. Just as before, I can create a new artifact with my settings by simply running build. Once my systems rerun their scans with the updates that I just published, we should be able to see how they performed by refreshing this page. And sure enough, we can see that my system is compliant. We now see 9 passing controls, and we can also see the waiver we applied to the ensure SSH access is limited. By expanding that control, we can see not only that the control was waived, but also the reason why. If we set an expiration for our waiver, it would show up here as well. Since my waiver doesn't have an expiration date set, it will continue to be skipped indefinitely. With a single package, I was able to easily check the compliance state of my server and then quickly define and deploy updates customized for my organization. If you're interested in learning more about the Chef Compliance offerings, be sure to check out our Marquee breakout session later today. Back to you, Corey.
Thanks so much, John. Amazing as always. It's so great to see the work that we've done to really drive this policy-based compliance and remediation framework. Fantastic stuff. Next, I'd like to show you the first of the 2 offerings that are new underneath the Chef Compliance umbrella. The first of those is Chef Compliance Audit, which is a policy-based audit and compliance reporting framework. It allows you to easily deploy and assess the compliance state of your compute environments, whether those be on-premise, in the cloud, or cloud resources, and is all backed by CIS certified content. Next, we've got Chef Compliance Remediation. John just showed us a great demo of this in action. It includes closed loop audit and remediation for continuous compliance in one policy-based approach. No more coding cookbooks or recipes to do remediation. You have the ability to turn all of that on and off with a simple configuration. So to recap, the 2 offerings that come under Chef Compliance are Chef Compliance Audit, which includes audit capabilities for your entire enterprise, and Chef Compliance Remediation, audit plus remediation, all with CIS certified content backing it. Next, I want to take a tour around extending Chef to the desktop. Now, this is a pattern that's been developing for some time in the community. Like all great things at Chef, it starts with the innovation and the ingenuity of somebody out there as a practitioner figuring out how they can use Chef to solve their IT operations problems. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the origin story around Chef Desktop, and it starts with a community story. There are many, many people involved in this community story. I won't name them all, but I'm going to highlight one of them for you, which is our own John McCrae. John is actually the IT manager, or was at the time the IT manager at Chef. He's now a senior software developer at Chef working on the desktop project. So how did it start? John, along with a bunch of other people in the Chef community, were poking around, thinking about infrastructure operations at scale and how they could use that paradigm to actually solve the challenges of managing distributed systems, laptops, desktops, kiosks, etc. at scale. John worked with a lot of the community in building up some of the content that was actually powering solutions around Macs, Windows computers, etc. And he brought that to Chef and deployed it internally. We loved the pattern. We loved what we were seeing in our customer base with respect to the use of this particular pattern. And we felt like the rest of the IT world deserved to have a solution based on the power and scalability of Chef Infra powering desktop management. So let's talk about desktop management in particular. Where did it start? It started by extending the concept of the coded enterprise to the desktop itself. Chef Infra, Chef Inspec, cookbooks for laptops and OS, and audit content were all the foundational pieces. Well, the work that we've done in the past year have allowed us to share your learnings in the field on this basic pattern and then drive innovation and productization around it. So today we're announcing the general availability of a solution, Chef Desktop, that allows you to solve laptop provisioning and configuration automatically. It comes with embedded content for compliance. So if you want to both provision and secure your mobile workforce, this is the solution for you. And it really addresses the heterogeneous world of device management, particularly in IT operations, where we have a mix of Mac, Windows, and Linux systems across the board. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the general availability of Chef Desktop. Not only does it come with all of the infra client and content that allows you to build a powerful automation solution around IT management for mobile devices or laptop devices, desktop computers, and kiosks and other single-use devices. It also comes with some new powerful analytics that allow you to see the state of your managed systems with Chef Desktop at a single glance. You'll see more details about this in the Marquee session that we have later on today. I could go on all day telling you about the amazing capabilities in the new desktop management solution from Chef. But instead, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Luis Madrigal, who runs Client, Engineering, and IoT at Uber. Luis.
Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Luis Madrigal and I lead the client platform engineering team at Uber. Here at Uber, we really pride ourselves in building things at scale and deploying hardware at scale. Client platform engineering team here is divided into 3 sub-teams. The first team is endpoint engineering, where we spend most of our time deploying Mac OS, Linux, and Windows computers. Second is mobility engineering, where we deploy Chrome OS, Android, and iOS devices. One of our largest deployments is Uber Eats, with over 500,000 tablets deployed globally that we manage, leveraging tools like MDM and automated provisioning. The third team is device infrastructure. Device infrastructure is responsible for building device farms. All those IT racks and server racks with trays of mobile devices to run performance testing, regression testing, all of the types of mobile engineering testing you can think of. We build that infrastructure, maintain it, and keep it healthy for the company to ensure the quality of our application. In endpoint engineering, we're able to leverage Chef Desktop across all 3 of the major operating systems. This allows us to deploy configuration changes continually to those 3. Chef really starts at Uber at the beginning process of procuring a device and provisioning it. We're able to provision Mac, Linux, and Windows desktops and laptops in order to customize them for the Uber user experience. Our employees, our developers, our accountants, you name it, doesn't matter if you're in support or engineering, we're able to land the changes and configure your computer leveraging tools like Chef. We combine the power of Chef along with best of breed open source tools and even some third-party tools like MDM to allow us to really own the device, configure it, manage it, and continue to improve its health throughout its life cycle while it's in users' hands. This really starts, as I mentioned, with provisioning, and then it goes on to application deployment. It goes on to configuration, security, any certificate changes, you name it. We've used Chef to the full extent and the full power that we've been able to land significant changes in our environment. So as part of this enablement, we also enable third-party teams, whether they're product or security, to land their own changes. We onboard teams to learn how to use cookbooks, learn how to use Chef configuration management, but they don't have to be experts. to make meaningful changes. They don't have to know the depths of Linux, of Windows, and of Mac. They leave that heavy lifting to us. Here at Uber, we have over 50,000 clients actively connected across Mac, Windows, and Linux, which means we have to think of things at scale. We have to be careful with the changes that we make. Part of that led us to explore Chef Inspect, Chef Automate, and Chef Habitat, which I'm really excited to mention. We became a Chef Enterprise customer. 1 second. And as I was mentioning, we became a Chef Enterprise customer this year. Really excited to explore the full potential of Chef Inspect, Chef Automate, and Chef Habitat. Our team is actively working on already deploying Chef 16 to the company, building our new server infrastructure in AWS, and we're really pumped to partner with Chef to continue to drive innovation on the Chef desktop space. So big props to all the open source contributors out there. Facebook has been a pioneer in using Chef for desktops. The Uber team, this client platform engineering team, the Mac admins community, and all the folks that have contributed. Really excited that Chef is taking this to the next level. And really, no matter how small your IT team is, you can use the Chef desktop product as a novice, or you can use it as an API scripting and programming expert. So really, thank you guys so much. Appreciate everybody taking the time. And back to you, the great folks at Chef.
Thanks so much, Luis. It's amazing to see what you and the team are doing at Uber with Chef's Desktop. Let's dig into the details of the desktop management product offering a little bit. It starts with Chef Desktop Management, which is automated provisioning and configuration management for laptops, desktops, and kiosk systems. It's based on core Chef technology and comes with Chef certified content. Next, we have Chef Desktop Compliance. It's an automated compliance solution that includes the provisioning and configuration management of Chef Desktop Management. So you get both configuration management, automated provisioning, and security policy auditing and remediation all in one package. So to take a look at both of these together, the base offering is Chef Desktop Management, which is really focused on configuration management for various different desktop and laptop type systems, and then Chef Desktop Compliance, which gives you both configuration management, provisioning, and security policy auditing and remediation all in one package for all of your distributed systems. I'd like to round out by telling you about some of the great other product enhancements that you hear at this year's ChefConf. We've got Chef 16, Client 16, which released in April and includes YAML support, ARM support, and many other new features and capabilities. The work that we've been doing with Workstation and Upgrade Lab, and there's a Marquee breakout session on that. And also we've been doing a lot of work with app delivery and the app delivery patterns that you love. So you hear more about all that throughout the rest of ChefConf. For now, I'd like to focus in on ServiceNow integration. I know that ServiceNow is a key platform for many of you as IT operations organizations. We've always historically had our integration with ServiceNow that allowed you to take tickets and actually work that through the human workflow process of IT management. Well, this ChefConf, we're announcing integration with ServiceNow's CMDB. This is a bidirectional integration that allows you to really do two things. One, use the ServiceNow CMDB as a core asset in understanding your automation landscape and the types and numbers of systems that you should be automating. And on the flip side, being able to take all of the rich data that comes out of OHI in Chef runs and being able to populate that back into the CMDB as well. You'll hear more about this at a later session in ChefConf. Brittany from Carfax is going to talk about it in detail. Today, we're also launching a new interactive learning and training portal, Learn Chef. You can get free content about everything chef there and easily track your progress and share your achievements online. Check it out at learn.chef.io. To finish off, I want to talk about some of the great marquee sessions that we have coming up. Introducing Chef Compliance is going to take a deep dive into the compliance announcements that I talked about today. We've also got an Introducing Chef Desktop Marquee session at 11:15, where you'll see more about our great new desktop solution. We've got Redefining Application Delivery with Chef, which talks about some of the great enhancements that we've put into the application delivery pattern in the past year. And then also Making Upgrades Easier with Chef Workstation and the Upgrade Lab that I mentioned earlier. Make sure you check out these great marquee sessions for more information on all of our new enhancements. At Chef, we lead with heart. It guides every decision that we make about how we interact with our communities and with our local communities as well. When we heard about All in Seattle, we knew we wanted to lend our support to this great organization. And we hope that you find an opportunity to lend your support to your local organizations. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your ChefConf Online experience.